Thank you for tuning into our podcast. We are coming to you from South Hadley, Massachusetts. I am your host, Carrie, and joining me is Holyoke's very own local historian and creator of the historical tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Camus. And he offers both public and private tours, as well as presentations of the local canal systems, reservoirs, cemeteries, and churches, as well as various parks and streets in Holyoke, South Hadley, and Chicopee. Now, you actually lead these tours and give these presentations yourself, is that correct?
Except this one, which is only done by the Holyoke Library. So the reason why I'm talking about it now is because I made it, the concept, and they took it over for a good reason. And you can go to their website and see the full details of everything and do it on your own.
Okay, and so today he'll be educating us on the Holyoke Library Park. So describe the park around the library.
All right. The library, what used to be a much larger park, athletic park. It included not only the block that it's on now, but it also included the block upon which the Lawrence School is on. It also included the block which upon the Perpetual Help Church was on. Then it also included the block that now houses, for instance, the Masonic Temple. It was 4 city blocks. That was athletic field. But it started getting broken up by the very late 1890s, and the reason why homes started going on to that block I talked about, the Masonic temples on. And so, why not put the library there too? It's a big open field, put a gorgeous library there, and that's what they did. So they did that, and then the community started building up around it. You had the Appleton Lawrence School go in I think it's 1927. You had the Perpetual Help Church campus go in, starting in 1922. And so everything's being filled in what used to be an athletic field. Now, the absolute perimeter of the park is the sidewalk tour around the park, and you have things like what's not there. For instance, facing towards the north, you have what was called the Massasoit. It's old Indian Head Triangle for the apartment complex still there, and this big sign is still there. And that's on what was Essex Street. Also, on the same Essex Street, but at the northeast corner of the park, you would have seen the old Elks. You still see the old Elks building since 1972. They moved away, but it's the Elks building you're looking at. It's now some kind of private school. Across the street, at that same intersection, is the old American Telephone Company. Very beautiful Art Deco building. And then also, at the same corner is the Maplewood. And the Maplewood was started because Arthur Beebe, owner of 2 mills in Holyoke, wanted to have a great place for himself to live and where his friends could live. And he built what's called the Maplewood. He called it a hotel because he could allow his friends to live there, and if they wanted to leave anytime they could. It's very beautiful. And from the 1950s, for a few decades, it was home to the Holyoke Community Center building, which still exists and celebrated its 100th anniversary this year. Now, across Maple Street is a set of 9 row houses, and they all have their own unique architectural look to them. And if you walk along it slowly, you can see that they're all very slightly different from one another. Now, across Cabot Street, of course, there's a Lawrence School, but at the first corner that you meet of Cabot and Maple, you get to see the Sons of Zion Synagogue. And that was built in a building that was originally the St. Jean Baptiste Society was there, and the French Protestants met there as Mass. So that building has been revived and changed inside to look like a Jewish synagogue. Now, also, if you go to the next intersection of Chestnut and Cabot, there would have been a gorgeous church there. It burned down in 1998 in the biggest fire History of Holyoke. That was a Perpetual Help Church. And I have many pages on my website devoted to that beautiful church. The Presbyterian Church is still at that corner, made in the Richardsonian Romanesque style. It was not made by him because he died a couple years before that. But it's a very gorgeous church. And then across Justice Street, of course, is the Masonic Temple. Now you've made it all the way around. Of course, I just did very quickly what should take you an hour. And if you use the Holyoke Public Library's webpage, you can read and look at a lot of pictures of all the old-time structures that are around here. And I hope you do that.
So quickly, before we continue with the rest of our interview, just to fill our listeners in, if you want to find out more information or sign up for any of his various tours, you can check out his website at holyokecanaltour.org, and there he has both videos of the various stops along each tour and also past and present photos of the historical sites throughout as well. And if you're interested in setting up a private tour, you can email him directly at bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. And they are perfect for fun and educational outdoor activities for the whole family or for your group parties, especially those special occasions and get-togethers. They are also good just for getting outdoors for the day. So getting back to our interview, how can you find a tour of the park?
Okay, now for a very much simpler tour, you could use my webpage. But for a more elaborate tour, linked off of my webpage is a Holyoke Public Library tour made by the Holyoke History Room. And they send you to an external webpage. And you could do a perimeter tour where you could read about all the buildings that I just described and look at very old pictures of all of them and learn a lot more about some of the residential buildings, including a little further down Maple Street. They actually send you a bit towards the Second Congregational Church and also towards a memorial building location that used to be the Appleton Street School, a location that used to be the previous Holyoke Public Library. So that's why they gave you one detour down Maple Street. Otherwise, you go around the perimeter. Also, on that webpage, there's another tour called the Tree Tour of Library Park, and that was made by my friend Thomas Cass. And he made it the same year they made the external tour. And he made it such that you could walk around it and see all the many trees that are in bloom and read about them. So there's a positional map, and you can click on any point that has a tree and read about that particular species of tree, like a cottonwood or a beech or a linden or a chestnut. And so it's a great, and he gives a tour every few years. I was able to go on it this year physically. But if you don't want to wait for that physical tour, you can just go on the internet and take a virtual tour. Also, the library has an indoor tour. They have a small map of each floor, and you can go around looking at. Because remember that about 10 years ago, in the year 2014, I think it was, they changed the Chestnut Street side to be the main entrance by adding an addition, and the main gorgeous entrance on Maple Street was now the back door. And they have a nice map telling you about each position and what the old library would have looked like.
Now, what does its future hold?
Okay, so it's hard to change the library park, and I hope they don't change it too much. They have changed the tables in the park, but it's a cozy little park. What might change are some of the empty spaces might fill in. For instance, the old Perpetual Help block is totally empty, and that is a great opportunity for some institution or some residential neighborhood to come into place. And that would be a great opportunity to really build us up this area to make it look as good as it used to look. Now, I heard the Sons of Zion's synagogue was for sale this year, and that's going to be changing over. So finally, after all these decades, it's going to have a new owner. And also there's empty lots of Massasoit is empty. That would be a great place to have something added in. One good thing that happened a couple of years ago is that Wayfinders made the library commons when they joined together the Carlson, the Randolph, and the former Providence Hospital nurses school all together into one unit and called it Library Commons. So that's the kind of venture you might see in the future around this library.
And thank you, Robert, for educating us on your tours, and we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. And you can also tune into a large selection of other podcasts and much more at his website. Again, that's holyokecanaltour.org. And again, you can email him directly for private tours or to inquire about anything else at bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. And be sure to keep an eye out for his upcoming 2024 season tours and more as they become available. Thank you for tuning in.